Let me tell you a story. My story. My life. My pain. My joys. Yeah. My story. My story.
I first realized something was wrong at the age of 21.
I realized that I wasn't okay when I began having suicidal thoughts. A big indicator is after I had my child, I found out some very devastating news, and I thought about committing suicide, not only for me but also shooting my baby in the head. So for me, that was very, very, very extreme, very disheartening. And so then I knew something was wrong.
When I graduated high school, I lived with my father, and he raised me as a single parent. And I never had my mom in my life because she was on and off of drugs and in and out of prison all her life. I told my dad one day, right when I graduated, I'm like, I'm gonna go live with my mom and see if I can have a relationship with my mom. And he was like, all right, well, go ahead, And I was like, I'm gonna, start college and go to school from there and see if she can help me, try to build that relationship. And I went there and everything was cool at first. And then I noticed kind of what he was telling me over the years, okay, she has an addiction, it's serious. And that's why he would keep me and my sister away from her.
I first realized that something was wrong when I was about 23. And I just found myself always just sleeping. I had no motivation. I was married at the time, and I was in between schools as far as college, and my husband would go to work, and I would just pretty much be in the same spot all day. He would come back and find me the same way he left me, and I just wouldn't do anything.
I don't know, I wasn't feeling right. I was kind of antsy, crying, it was an emotional roller coaster. And so my mom told me to go to the doctor. And I went to the doctor, and he was telling me that I was suffering from depression, and it was some other things. He tried to prescribe me medication that I didn't take.
I realized something was wrong when I didn't see the world like other people saw it. Everything was bigger to me. My feelings were enormous. I'd be real happy. No one could be happier. Real sad. No one could be sadder. And I remember trying to get people to, my brothers and sisters, feel as strongly about things as I did. And I never accomplished that.
I knew something was wrong during my pregnancy. I started having mood swings, and it became continuous. At first it was just maybe one day, and then it started being almost every other day, and then it was every day, and it was from about 6 months on.
So that hit the peak when I had to pick my mom up from the hospital because she overdosed on methamphetamines. And it just kind of hit me because I was letting her use my car to take my grandma around because she was taking care of my grandma at the moment, in-home supportive care or whatnot. And it was one of those things where I was like, well, I'm trusting you, to use my car to help our family out. But you're using my car to go get high and run the streets. And every time I come home from school, you're not here and there's no food in the house. So it hit me, that change, when I noticed something was wrong when I left, because I have never fought anybody in my whole life, middle school, elementary, high school years, none of that. And this was my first fight. My first fight I had was with my mom. So that was like the main point with me. I packed my clothes and I left, and I was literally on the streets on my own at 18. And then and there, I noticed like I started blocking people out. I went MIA, you know. No one knew where I was at. I stopped talking to my sister. I stopped talking to my mom. I didn't talk to my dad. So I was just pretty much like trying to figure out me, my life, who I can trust, because at that point I was broken.
You would know if you're suffering from depression or any other mood disorder by noticing changes in your life. So now you don't feel like doing the things that you normally felt like doing before. Things don't bring you joy. You may be a lot more tired. You may have gained a lot of weight recently. And you're generally not yourself.
My depression was not diagnosed.
No, I never went to get it diagnosed. When I was with my first girlfriend, me and her, you know, normal relationship arguments or whatever, but I took it to like this whole nother level. In the mall, we were arguing about something, and pretty much I didn't think that she was paying attention to me or like listening to truly what I had to say and like seeing my side of the story. So I literally tried to jump from the 3rd floor of the mall down to the 1st floor. And people in the mall seen that, and they're like, what are you doing? Like, what happened? And like, she was worried at that point. My girlfriend, my ex, was worried at the point and was like, what was going on with you? And that's when I was just kind of like, I don't know. I sat there and waited for the police to come because I didn't want to be around her. I didn't want to be around nobody. I just didn't care.
Yeah, I was diagnosed with depression 1989. And I'm trying to remember if it was the same doctor. Then she also diagnosed me with multiple personality disorder, which they now call it dissociative identity disorder. And so I noticed that my depression would come when I couldn't handle something. And that would be, after the depression, then I would move to another personality, another part of me that could handle whatever was going on.
My depression was diagnosed. It was diagnosed about 10 years later. That's when I finally sought help. And that's when the doctor told me I had post-traumatic stress disorder as well as dealt with severe postpartum depression.
And I decided that I was going to go ahead and try to talk to somebody. So I found this, they're actually doing a clinical study and in Houston, my hometown, and at the medical center. And I called and I set up an appointment and went through the process, and that's when I was diagnosed as a manic depressive. And I didn't quite know what to do with that title. I didn't know what to do with that information. So I guess anybody that's in denial, I ignored it.
Strong and fine, and he loves me as I am. I wanna wrap myself in him and his loveliness, but I feel how good it may feel. Yes, he loves me, he cares for me, he's there for me.
Cause of my depression is a lot of postpartum stuff and stuff that happened in the past from my childhood, but also after I gave birth, I just wasn't the same.
Things that I went through in life, it's kind of like I think like life beats you up, and some things you can bounce back, and some you probably just have to really like take a break.
No, it was really, really hard to sit there and face that this was all deeply rooted from childhood trauma. And childhood trauma was, you know, the unfortunate reality of being sexually abused as a little girl. And that was over a number of years. So you got this combination of you're a grown woman, but you're depressed, but you've been repressing all these feelings of being sexually abused as a child. So what are you going to do with all of this? You repress it some more because you just can't accept the fact that this is happening to you. You're not that person. You're a strong black woman. You're supposed to just suck it up and just keep going. But I couldn't do that.
I don't remember most of my childhood. Something happened. But I think it happened to my sister. I just feel like I remember the footsteps coming down the hall, and I remember pretending I was asleep. And I don't remember anything else. So, you know, I remember growing up, I always compensated for not protecting her. I don't remember whether something happened to me or not. I don't remember. I was a virgin when I got married, but just because I was a virgin doesn't mean I wasn't molested. So it was between that and then when I went and told my parents, they were in their bedroom, that my brother wanted to stick his thing in me. And my daddy beat him. It was just like somebody was not going to come out of that room alive. And it was my fault. And so that's when I went away. I think that's when I went away.
For centuries, we've been carrying profound pain from one generation to the next. So that will help us understand how come we talk to ourselves the way we do, we see ourselves the way we do, we experience the world the way we do. It's no surprise that with all the pain that we've been experiencing for so many generations, it would have a strong impact on the way we move in the world, the way we experience ourselves inside. And so it really is important for us to become more deeply aware of how our history continues to affect us.
A love coach is someone who takes women through a process of adding a lot more love into their lives, whether that's self-love, love in relationships, love with your family, because I think everything stems from love. As a love and life coach, I don't necessarily specialize in the psychological side of depression. I have people that I know who are therapists that I'll refer clients to, but I do occasionally have a client who is dealing with somewhat of a situational depression, and we do an assessment and figure out where she's coming from the perspective of situational depression. And what I mean by that is when you are at a place and you're thinking of where you want to be, that gap, if you're focused on the gap, a lot of times that'll send you into a not so pretty place and you can be depressed. And years ago, I had struggled with that.
My name is Melissa Shepard Williams, and I'm a marriage family therapist. Marriage family therapists are trained to work with individuals and couples and families. Really, the focus of our work is supporting people through relationship challenges, emotional challenges, and really engage people in tapping into their wisdom in the process of healing.
Treatment, I feel, is self-worth. I mean, doing the work for self. Once you get that power back on self, you're able to do the work. So I think it's self-worth.
Yes, I sought treatment in 2013. I saw a therapist and a psychiatrist for about a year and a half.
I have sought treatment. I have done counseling off and on, depending on like the availability of the counselor, or if it's like, okay, I'll go for a few months, okay, session is done, and then I'll go on, and then I realize I need it again. But it's been what I realize is, well, I'm in the counseling profession. I'm getting my master's in mental health counseling, and what I'm realizing, I have to understand both perspectives, like both as a client and from a professional point of view. And many times I'll go in and I'll find a counselor, will be a good fit, and then, I have to remember that they have to cancel an appointment because they probably have to take care of it. They have to practice self-care, their own self-care, because you never know what their experience is. But I'm like, hey, I'm here, So it's just about finding that balance of finding a counselor that is consistent.
As far as the treatment, I never wanted to take any medication because my mom, depression, bipolar, anxiety, all that stuff, it's in my family. I have family members that have it, and I've seen the experience of my mom on medication, so I never wanted to, I didn't want to get to that point. So I was fighting it the best way I knew how. I wanted to seek counseling, and the only reason why I haven't went into that as far as just going to a psychiatrist because of my finances. So I did spiritual counseling, and that helps, but I think I still need to see a psychiatrist.
Loving yourself through a past trauma would require you to really dive in to doing the work. And trauma requires therapy. And in the Black community, I think we are just now coming to a place of accepting therapy. But therapy is priceless. Therapy will show you the tools to use to get past certain hurts. We are adults now. So things that happen to us as children, we are adults now where we can make certain decisions and we can decide to heal. And in deciding to heal, I highly recommend finding a therapist, especially when it comes to trauma.
Seeking a therapist and understanding the fit is somewhat tricky, and sometimes it takes time. Referrals are always great. So if you have or know anybody who's had a good experience with a therapist, but research is important. So going online, you can find out a lot with Google, or going online and researching therapists. But generally speaking, in the first meeting, ask questions. It's your time, it's your experience, and it's your healing.
Part of the process in therapy is to collaborate with other professionals so that it's a multidisciplinary experience. So because I am not an MD and therefore I'm unable to prescribe, then I would recommend that the client would meet with a psychiatrist who's an MD, so that they can have an additional conversation to the ones that happen in psychotherapy to determine in what other ways the client may be supported. And sometimes that can lead to medication.
So for a woman who has situational depression, what we'll do is we'll identify where she is, and I get her into a place of understanding exactly where she is and accepting where she is. Because if you accept that, then it becomes a little bit more palatable and easy to deal with. So sometimes there's exercises, assessments of life because most of the time we beat ourselves up. We'll beat ourselves up just about where we are. And what I like to do is I want women to just accept exactly who they are, what they have to offer, every single aspect of who they are. So what that means is sometimes, for instance, I run into this for myself. If I'm, 15 pounds overweight and I don't necessarily feel comfortable with the way that I look in the mirror, I just look in the mirror and honor myself, like accept the bulge, accept, the rolls. And it seems to me that it's easier for me to not beat myself up when I love on myself exactly where I am. So with a client, we'll figure out what it is that where she is, whether it's in her career, whether it's in relationships or a lack of relationships, identifying where you are and finding the gratitude in that space. When you find the gratitude in that space, it's a little easier and life is a little bit more palatable, meaning you can just not be as not be as strained and stressed and depressed about where you want to be. So you find the gratitude in where you are, and that'll free you up to get to the place where you want to be. And that's generally the type of depression that I may deal with.
I think what prevented me from getting treatment for depression was just being scary, not knowing what it would be. I was scared, fearful of sharing my problems with someone else. So I thought that me trying to handle it myself would be the best way.
My only treatment has been just based off of my everyday life and routine and trying to meet people that are positive in energy. I haven't went to seek treatment from a hospital or anything like that, because especially how I was raised, my dad raised me to be tough, get over it, build a bridge, get over it, and I didn't know that was an option for me. I didn't know that I could do that and actually really get the help that I needed.
I was just really repressed, and I think it got to a point where we're going to have to try to find some other way to see if it's this depression, what else is deeply more rooted in you? Something else is happening. And that's when I decided, or my husband at the time suggested, that I might have to go talk to someone. And I decided to go into therapy. And of course, growing up, you're not supposed to talk about your business. You're not going to tell nobody about what's going on with you, because ain't nothing wrong with you, girl. You just going through something. This is the blues.
One of the things that can really get in the way of someone choosing to seek therapy is feeling that others will criticize. What do you mean you need therapy? We don't do that. We push forward. We press on. We don't need therapy. Just stick to your community. You can't trust that kind of thing. They can't relate to us.
Well, I never knew it was a stigma. Even when the doctor said I had different personalities, I didn't see it as a problem.
I believe the stigma that delayed me getting treatment was no one in my family goes to see therapists. No one that I know talks about seeing therapists. It's not something in my community that anyone's like, you should see a therapist. And when I finally saw it was from a suggestion from someone that I didn't even know that suggested it, and that's what really helped me.
Particularly in the Black community, I think the stigma of being crazy is huge, and that's probably the first thing that will keep somebody from seeking professional help or any kind of assistance. I think sometimes in our spiritual communities, they're not as understanding about mental illness or mental health issues, but we're seeing that's changing as well, so that's a good thing. And then finding somebody who they don't feel like is going to understand them. So that whole cultural competence piece, the needing for for a therapist to be able to provide culturally relevant and culturally attuned services, and treatment is critical. Or else, generally speaking, people start a session, they go that first time, they don't feel a connection, they don't feel like they're being heard or understood, and then they never go back.
There are so many stigmas. over the years, for generations, a lot of what prevents people from accessing these resources has to do with taboo. The idea that if I go to therapy, that means I'm crazy. That idea has been passed on from one generation to the next. However, that's changing very slowly, but it's changing. But for so many years, there's been trauma moving from one generation to the next. And there's been, a tradition of just surviving. And if you're so busy surviving, you're not thinking about, let me access some support. You're busy surviving. And so therapy is not something that enters your mind. And especially if you don't associate those so-called resources of support with people that you trust. If there isn't a sense of trust for those different institutions that provide resources to support people in their healing process, then, why would we go? So one of the key ingredients is for trust to be built, for trust to be strengthened in communities, for people to feel more willing, for it to be more likely that our people will seek therapy.
So if there's a woman who feels that she just absolutely will not go to therapy, she's gonna have to do the work. She may be sitting here watching this thinking, it's not happening. And I do know a couple of people who just won't do therapy. But you have to put your big girl panties on and decide to do the work. So I'm not saying that, you're not going to do therapy, that's just it for you. No, if you're not going to do therapy, you have to do your own research. You have to read books. You're going to Google something about how to do 2-strand twists for your hair. You better Google how to have some healing or how to get past a certain hurt or pain. Google it, read a book, do exactly what you would do in any other aspect of your life. If your friend said, I want you to bake a chocolate cake, and you're like, yeah, I'll bake you one, and you have no clue, you're going to go online. You're going to read some instructions. So I highly recommend that woman who just is deciding, I'm not going to go see a therapist, that she still step into her power. Just because you aren't picking up the phone to call a therapist doesn't mean you're not stepping into your power. So whatever it takes to stop operating through the filter of pain and fear, I encourage you to do it. And you have to identify that you're not perpetuating the pain and the fear. Because perpetuating pain and fear can lead you down a path of trying to mask the pain and the fear. And sometimes that may be, abuse of something that does not work for you. Abuse of alcohol, abuse of drugs, abuse of sex. But if you decide you're going to operate from a place of power, then you are going to do what it takes for you to thrive.
I was on welfare at the time, and there was another young lady in one of the classes when they were telling me what to do. You have to take certain classes, and she said, you can take therapy classes, and then or counseling services, and she suggested a place. There's a place in Long Beach, Pacific Asian Counseling Center. They take people of all different nationalities, and I went in, and then they had group meetings that I had to attend. And at first, I was timid. I didn't want to go because you don't know these people in the group. But hearing other people speak made it easier for me to speak about what I was going through and what I had been dealing with for the last decade. That's because it was a long process of a time that I just was in the dark.
My healing, it's in being around other people, talking to other people, encouraging other people. I believe that's a way that kind of helped me come out, is encouraging somebody else, which sounds pretty crazy, but that's how it works for me.
What is it that you like to do? What brings you joy? If you were a musician or you're artistic, then participating in those activities are going to be part of your healing journey and should be part of your healing journey. If you like to write, or maybe somebody's told you you're good at writing, then journaling would probably be really good for you. But it's exploring. Exploring different things, trying new things, and trying things that you haven't done before. You may realize, wow, I really like this. So being open to different things, new things, and then doing things that did bring you joy at some point.
In the therapy process, one of the goals is to support someone in their healing journey. And to support someone in their healing journey is not strictly or only to be in the position of leading the way, but walking with someone at their pace of discovery. And that includes assisting them in tapping into their wisdom. Wisdom that doesn't get heard deeply when we're busy with the noise of fear and anger and frustration. So we're supporting someone in quieting down so you can hear your inner guide more clearly. And learn how to be with your feelings in a new way, rather than running from those feelings because they're so intense. Learning how to be with those feelings in a new way and feel supported.
I guess there's a phase or there's a time when you go into the angry black woman syndrome. Yeah, I was an angry black woman. I was an angry black woman for 10 whole strong years. But I was grateful to my therapist because it was a stop and start thing. Yeah, cost, life, everything showing up at the same time. But when I did get a chance to sit and talk to someone, it was the most important thing that could have happened to my life. Because you don't know what to do with that information. You don't know what to do with the whys. You don't know why why your childhood is being taken like that. What's wrong with you? What did you do?
I don't feel like I'm on the other side of depression. I think it's an everyday struggle and giving my all in all to, to make it better. So I don't think I ever get over being in a dark space, but it's always having a plan or some type of goal or something to look forward to keep moving forward.
No, I don't think, I'm not, it's not as bad as it could be, but I'm not on the other side.
There are some days where it tries to sneak up on me. For the most part, yes. I'm not as depressed as I was. There are some days, depending on, relationship issues or, a family issue that happens or comes up, that I'll be like, okay, I want to feel depressed about it, but then I look at the situation like, okay, well, I can't control it. And it's something that I can't control, so I can't sit up here and beat myself up about it.
I would say like my depression took up over 50% of my time. And now I would say it's under 15%.
Yeah, some days are better than others. Like I said, it all depends. Right now, I'm in a place where trying to not allow my surroundings dictate my mood.
I actually definitely do feel like I'm on the other side of my depression now. I get out, I make a point to get outside of the house every day. I walk. That's something I do to really help me with it, brisk walking. And that way, I live in a gated community. And it has over 400 apartments, so in there I get out and I see life. So I get to see people talking, laughing, sunshine hitting me, that makes me feel better. So
I do now. I feel like I'm on the side of my depression, very much so now, by way of, again, getting real with those experiences and understanding what it is to be a survivor as opposed to being a victim. The things that happened to me, they're not my fault, but I took ownership and thought that they were my fault. So the friends I surround myself with, truly taking the opportunity to see what resources that you have within your communities. It may not be therapy. It may not be the formal idea. If you have a spiritual person that you could talk to, if you have a trusted friend that you can talk to, if you can journal, research, reading self-help books, those things were beginning to get me on that real journey. And it took me a long, long time.
The route that I took to arrive at my happiness, I would say, had a lot to do with me like trying to get up and do things like exercise and go see different places. Like, I'm a Sagittarius, so I like to travel, and that's one of the things my heart has always like yearned for, travel. So like I was like, you know what, like I can't be sitting in here all day laying around like depressed, like overthinking things. Let me get up and like go to this concert, or go, you know, to it's like this Chase Bank, I forgot what it's called, Sky Space, in the middle of downtown Los Angeles, and just see the whole view of like LA from the top of the building. Like, let me go like to Massachusetts, let me go travel to Dallas, let me go travel to Atlanta, like let me go see different places and meet different people with different experiences, so I can kind of heal from this, like, and just know that there's other people out there that have been through the same thing that I probably went through, and it's okay.
I meditate. I choose my thoughts. If I find that they're not taking me to a peaceful place.
I can catch myself when I start feeling depressed and I start feeling like I'm in a dark place. I make sure I get outside. And getting outside has been a tremendous help for me, because when I was severely depressed, I would sit in the house, all blinds closed, everything dark. So then if you're in the dark and you're already feeling depressed, that makes you even more depressed. Now I open my blinds. I make a point to open my blinds so sunshine is coming in, so I'm not sitting in the dark. My apartment is painted yellow and green, so I'm seeing bright colors no matter what, whereas before it was just bland, everything was bland or whatever. So I do things, I listen to music, I get up, I've found ways. I even YouTube like comedy if I need to, so I can laugh.
Honoring yourself is one major core characteristic of love. So what does honoring look like? Let's see how that is tangible. Honoring means, we look in the dictionary, honoring means putting yourself above everything else. So are you putting your goals above everyone else's goals? And there's nothing wrong with that. That's the one thing is, I think we have a fear of putting ourselves first. At least as women, we were trained to take care of everyone around us. We're natural nurturers, but we must take care of ourselves first.
How I feel about myself and my life today, I want to say pretty good for the most part. Like, there's some days that I'll question myself, and I'm just kind of like, oh, how did you get here, you know? Like, and I'm just like, why am I doubting myself? Like, you did this yourself. Like, be proud of it, you know? Like, feel good about it, you know? So like lately I've been doing a lot more like self-evaluation of just telling myself, okay, Bree, like stop overthinking and just know, take it day by day and just let yourself know that you're doing good.
I feel awesome about myself today. I feel awesome today.
I feel wonderful about myself today because I feel now that I don't use the word depression. I try to turn that around into a positive thing. So I would use, instead of depression, I would say courage, you know, and I work in a state of positivity, you know, making sure I'm surrounded with women that's going to uplift me and keep me going.
My life is good. It could be better, but it's very good. I'm very, what do they call it, blessed, you know. There's no major changes I would make. I like the way I live. I like being able to come and go as I please. And having enough money to do it.
In spite of all against us, it wouldn't change the way things are. But if I run away and put some air between us, it wouldn't change my mind, my heart. Starting to believe that whatever's gonna be, it's gonna be that way anyway. Nobody goes through something for nothing. In time, in time, in time. In spite of all against us, it wouldn't change my way things are. But if I run away and put some air between us, it wouldn't change my mind, my heart. If I keep running, there's no reason to. If I keep...
The type of advice I would give someone experiencing depression: take one day at a time, and don't be so hard on yourself, because you're doing a great job. We're all human, and we're all going through this life and this journey for ourselves.
Deal with it. That you're not different, you know. We're all unique in our own ways. We all go through things, but just if that's what it is, don't be ashamed of it. Don't be ashamed to say that you're going through something or that you're suffering from something, because I realize that shame and trying to hide it, I think it only makes matters worse. And if you can vent, if you can talk about it and release it, it's very helpful. But to keep it inside, it will mentally mess you up. So I would tell people today, if you're suffering from depression, seek help. Seek it. Don't act like you have to be strong or you have to do it by yourself, because you don't.
This whole idea of you got to be strong all the time and you got to do everything all the time for everybody, it's not true. You're a human being. You're one person. You can't do everything for everybody. So try to talk to somebody. If you can't just keep it or don't want to keep it all in yourself, I don't recommend you keeping it all in yourself.
What I would say to somebody who was challenged by depression is to keep moving forward.
My advice that I would give to someone that's discovering depression, I would say your self-worth. Be able to invest in you. I think if you take your time and invest in yourself, and it's okay to do it baby steps, day at a time, a little bit at a time, and it's okay.
The advice I would give to anyone dealing with depression is get help if you need it. Talk to someone. Surround yourself with positive people. And if you're taking any kind of medication that says do not drink while taking this medication, do not drink while taking that medication.
The advice I would give to those experiencing depression, I want to say, would have to be to not ever give up. To not ever give up. Because there have been many of times where I felt like giving up or killing myself, or feeling like I wasn't capable or worthy or beautiful enough or any of that. That was mainly the thing, like feeling like I'm at rock bottom. My advice to people who are experiencing that is to not give up and to just know that you are worthy. You're worthy of anything. Like, you could do anything that you want to do in this life. That's a really good thing, because when people feel that way, you know, people start to feel like it's over and they just give up on themselves. Don't give up on yourself. Like, don't give up on yourself no matter what anybody says. Like, just don't do it.
The rhythm of my blue is honoring my temple, honoring God, and doing the work.
The rhythm of my blue is nature, but most importantly, the beach. I love the beach. I love the water, the waves. It's very relaxing. I love it.
The rhythm of my blue is my song of I've learned to get through this thing through my spirituality. So I love to worship. I get into a place where I just begin to worship God, and that's how I get through. You know, that's the music that I listen to, where I'm able to release. That's my rhythm of blue, just going to a place and just releasing it all, knowing that I am not different from anyone, and knowing that we all go through something. So that's my rhythm of blue, just tapping into my spirituality and just getting my freedom there.
The rhythm of my blue is through creativity, being able to dance, being able to write, being able to act, being able to tell jokes, make people laugh. Because when that's happening, I'm at my best. I'm happy there. And I see that those rhythm and those of my blue is just turning into all these wonderful shades of blue. And I want to be able to express that and share that and spread that with other people. And that brings me joy.
The rhythm of my blue is, I have a song it's called Glory. Glory by Childish Gambino.
The rhythm of my blue, sunshine. Getting out, letting the sun hit my face, letting the wind hit my body when I'm walking. I love to walk. That's something I forgot for a very long time, that I like to get out and see other people and see movement and see that happiness is out there. You just gotta find it.
Love. I really feel that it does conquer everything.
I want women to know they have more power than society has led them to believe. And I think sometimes we step back and we're waiting for permission from someone, or we're waiting to be struck by lightning for some change to happen. And I want every woman to know that she has the strength. If she can listen to this and watch this, she is alive. If you are listening to this and watching this, you are alive. And what that means is that you have the power to change your life.